Hi again, explorers, and today we are going to continue with our Java by example. And we are continuing with this invoice, and the problem today is before us. We can show a PDF with a lot of rows, but when we come to 1,000 rows or so, we got some problems. So we can handle the case of no rows, we can handle the case of one row and a few rows, but here we have the case of a lot of rows. This is going to be interesting. See how we could solve this one. So let's start off here by looking at the invoice output here, and here we have the number of rows that we are going to output. Let's start by checking out how big of a problem we have. So let's say number of rows. There we have that, because I don't remember. See, we run package and we get the number 16, and that's correct because that's the number of rows that we have said that we could print when we print background rows. Yeah. What we like to do is look at how many rows we have in memory. So that's rows, length, perhaps. It's either size or length. I think it's a bit weird that we don't have in the API that they haven't the same for both arrays and other collections. So let's see here. We have 1,000 rows. So that's good. And we print 16 at the moment. And that's too few. So how to go about this? We could start off by not printing anything below here and just look at how many rows we could fit on one page. That could be a thing. So let's start by saying that we could try to print, let's say 24, and see what that gives us. So a little bit of trial and error here, just to see how much room we got. Single invoice. So here we have filled up the whole PDF. That was actually the right amount, I think, because we are at the end of the document. So the first page could have 24 rows. That's good. And let's look at the API here. pfbox new page. I guess that could be something that we look for. Creating multiple pages in a document. So we have a page, then we print, document, page, size letter, okay. But we haven't actually created pages with a specific size in mind at the moment. But I guess that we need to shift page between each. That could be with the current structure that we have, that could be a problem, because we don't have the page at the moment inside of our invoice printer. So I guess that we need to actually provide a few more values here. We need the document, because we need to actually be able to create new pages and add them to the document, and we need the current page as well. Or do we? What did it say? We need to close the current stream and then create a new page. No, we actually don't need to have the current page, because we can create a new page inside of the invoice. So that could be a thing. So let's go back to our invoice here and say that we want to create a new page here. So this part up here, we could call that print the header information. So I wonder, because I think this is the only thing that is actually needed for each of the new pages. Shipping and billing addresses is only interesting on the first page, and shipping date is only interesting on the first page as well. So I guess that we actually don't need a new function. Thinking on the fly here, but we need to provide the document to this printer function, and we also need to say that we could handle documents and pages inside of our invoice. So this invoice is now actually having a lot of responsibilities inside of it, which could be a bad thing. But so far, I guess it's okay. Could be something that we want to refactor later. So here we have creating the content stream. So we want to change that up. New we can just replace the contents that we already are working on with the new, and then we create a new page here, and then we just create another header here. Let's say that we close contents here, so there, and then on the next page we will print another row header and another 24 rows. But I see here that the row header actually needs a starting point. So this header Y is actually something that we want to provide to the document. So here we want to give it a header Y, and this rectangular Y is 7 before the actual value. Either that, or we say that we start at this value and then add 7 for each of these. That's more reasonable, I think. So there we go. So 520 is the value that we want to supply to the first one. 520. And I believe that the second one, where do we end up printing the header? The header is somewhere above 690. Could we be so bold to start our new page content at 760 perhaps? And if we have from here until here, there's another 24, so that's 12 extra spaces, so 36 rows could be visible, hopefully. And this value should be also pushed. Let's see here. If that's 21 below, so this should be 749 then. Yes. No, 39. A lot of math here. So now I think that we should have 2 pages with multiple rows. And we are missing something. The actual formal list differ in length. Let's see here. Header cannot be applied to given types. Did I print row header? Yeah, that's the one that needs this value. So I just put it on the wrong row. So that's better. So if this is 21 below, so I guess that we could say that our row Y is 520 here. So we put row Y there and minus 21 there. So that's a bit tidier. Put row Y there, row Y there, minus 21. So that should print the 2 rows, the 2 pages. And didn't build. Variable is already defined, of course it is. Good that you tell me, compiler, so I don't create. Cannot read while there is an open stream right there. 47. Document save. Let's see here. Application. Contents close. Yeah. So we close that content here, but we can't actually do that. So I guess that we need to print this first, and then the invoice will actually close the contents here, because the invoice will have to have that responsibility. Else we can't really, by the current implementation, we can't really handle that the application closes the document. So here we have the first page, and here we have the second page. We see here that something went wrong. We actually started our header very much too high. So let's scale it back to 100 and hope that we get closer. Just to see where we end up. Yeah. So let's look at the header again. So 720, then 600. What did I? 600. What did I actually say here? Okay, so we can't actually draw the image outside of the invoice either, because we need to write the image in the header, I think. Well, that's reasonable, that the header should be the one to have that responsibility, so that's fine by me. Or else we will not get the image on each side, in each page. So that's good. But I said 760, but I can't do that. 660 is more reasonable, of course. And if it's 660, then we have 14, not 12, 14, that's 7 more rows. So 31 then. Math. Let's see here. The header. Don't know about the document. So we need to push this information out to the header as well. Here, print header. Why does the header need document? We create the image from the document. Yeah, that's fine. So, no. Header, PDF document. Print it here. And you should have 1, 2, yeah. So that's those two. Do I need to tell the header that it can handle documents? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. There we go. And no errors. Run the application. And we have 1 page, 2 pages. So now we can actually print page after page with data on it, with the rows. So let's create the last page then. So in our case we need 1 page that has 24 rows on it to print all the rows, and we know that 24 is the max of the first page, 31 is max of the last page. We have another value here that's 16. That's 16 rows on the first page until we hit the summation block. So that should mean that we should take 8 rows away from 31. So then we are back at 23. So on a full page we can only print 23 until we hit the lot. So let's say first page with summation that's 16 rows. First page without summation, that's 24 rows. Next page without summation, 31 rows. And next page with summation, 33 rows. So we have tried the first two and the last of these statements. So let's just test the very last of them, that we can print summation and a footer on this page after we have printed 23 rows. So that should be interesting, because then we have a full page, and we also know that the first page starts there, but the second page and the pages after that starts a bit further up. So let's try this then. Let's see here. Why can I close this? So build this. And let's see here, PDF page is already defined. Yeah, of course it is. Cannot find the symbol total cost. Okay, so let's set that to 0 before we start this run as well. We will need to summate that later. So let's do this. Run it. And look at the result. Page 1, page 2, page 3 with summation. So that was easy. Now we know how we can print our document. So that's good. So now we need to figure out a way to know if we can print the first page and if we can print the next page or so on. So I guess that, let's say that, because the hard part is how much do we want to print on one page and the next pages, so we get a good mix. Because let's say, for instance, that we have 32 rows that we want to print. Then we can print 24 on the first page, and we end up printing 6 rows on the next page. That might look fine. It's not that bad. But let's say that we change this number to 25. Then we have 24 rows on one page and only 1 row on the next page. That's not that nice. And let's say that we have 17. Well, the first page can only have 16 rows until we hit the break point. So what do we want to do then? So I guess that if we are somewhere between 16 and 24, Then we want to print half of that on the first page and half of that on the other page. That could be a way to do it. Or let's say we want to print 2/3 on the first page and 1/3 on the second page. That could be a good way to do it as well. Thirds are seldomly a good way to go though. But that could be something. Or just say that if we have more than 16 but less than 24, then we print 12 rows on the first page. So that's a rule. If we have in between those, then we print 12 on the first page and the rest on the next page. So then we come to this one where we have 24 plus 23, 2, and that's 47. Yeah, I don't need to say that, and that's until we get to 24, 31. I guess that we can do the same here. So if we are somewhere between these, we can say that we print the first. Is 12 a good? No, let's say the first 20 on the first page. 18. Yeah. The first 18 on the first page and the rest on the second page. So that's another rule that we are actually implementing here. So this should be a good rule of thumb. So now let's look at the actual implementation here. So we have the first page is printed here, and we have the rows. So we will go through and print each of these rows. Then we have this kind of a thing that is actually creating a new page header from the current content and creating a new content. So that could actually be a new function here. Private void new page. So let's see how this will end up. It's not the print PDF, it's just new page. And then we put this code into new page up here. And this will return contents. So we will get a new page stream out of this.